All right, all right, all right. Hi guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So my name is Ore, and we will be moderating this session together with the beautiful Anne. Right. Basically, we are going to be talking about AWS reInvent 2024 and basically a recap of the event and the key takeaways, right? First of all, I'd just like you guys to, well, our guests or our audience, to just let us know where you're joining from, right? Are you joining from Nigeria, or are you joining from West Africa or East Africa or Europe? Wherever you're joining from, please just drop that in the chat, right? Thank you. All right.
Hi, Abdulrahman. Good
Hi.
to be here. We're happy to have you here.
Um, Hello. Okay, I'm guessing let's just wait for like let's say 2 minutes before we invite our guest in, right? What do you think, Anne?
Yeah, sure. We are having some
All
responses
right.
already on
Oh,
the chat.
really? Okay,
So,
fine. Nice,
yeah,
nice. It's nice. You guys should keep
we
on
have,
joining.
yeah, Sheriff is joining in from Lagos, Nigeria.
Oh,
We're
hi,
so happy to
Sheriff.
Abdulrahman from Abuja, Nigeria.
Oh,
That's
hi, Abdurrahman.
amazing. Let's just keep it coming in. Just keep it coming in. Hi, peace. Joining in from Nigeria. Good to hear from you again, Mr. Ore. Ore, that's
I
for
know,
you.
right? Hey, peace. How you doing? Good to hear from you too.
I think we could have one or two more responses so that we get to begin. We want to be sure that our audience, they are all right here with us so that we can begin shortly.
Yep,
So
yep,
if
yep.
you're joining in, just get to drop where you're joining in from. We'd love to read from you. Hello. Hello, Alens. Even though we can't see your face, but we are great. We are really glad to read from you. Welcome. Hi, FM. Joining in from Lagos, Nigeria. You're
Hi,
welcome,
fam. You're welcome. So we actually have something cooked up for you guys, right? Something very, very delicious. And we are hoping you enjoy it, right? We are hoping you enjoy it. So just sit down, relax. You can just take some cold drink, just something nice and calm, just to cool down your body. We have something cooked up for you guys. So I'm guessing we can just start, right? And
Sure, we can.
so we don't keep our audience and our guests waiting as well. All right. So What exactly is the Revent, right? So the Revent is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cloud computing conferences held in the world, right? Last year, the AWS Revent was held at Las Vegas, December. So we have guests who actually went for the event, right? Partook in the event, and they are coming in to just give you few tips, key takeaways, and all. Right. So our first guest is Salaudeen Abdurazak. So Salaudeen Abdurazak is a DevOps engineer at NIBS with keen interest in automation, infrastructure security, and the deployment of highly available software platforms. With a background in electrical and electronics engineering from Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Abdurazak brings a strong engineering mindset to cloud and DevOps practices. Beyond engineering, Abdulrazak is passionate about tech education and mentorship. As a technical mentor for the ALX Cloud Computing Program, Abdulrazak has trained and guided aspiring cloud professionals across Africa, leveraging modern tools to simplify complex concepts. Abdulrazak is also an AWS All Builders Grant recipient and an advocate for hands on learning in cloud and DevOps. So, guys, please just give it up for Abdulrazak as he joins us on stage. Hi, Abdulrazak. How you doing?
Hi, hi. Thank you so much for the introduction. I feel so excited to be
Yeah,
here
thank you
today.
for. I know, right? Same here. um. All right. I think, and you can.
All right. So right now we'll be
Yeah.
bringing up our next speaker, Eberechi. So I'm just going to read her profile for us. So Eberechi is a multiverse professional with 7 years of experience across agile methodologies, data architecture, business analysis, product ownership, and project management. With a diverse background spanning finance, utilities, retail, and consulting, she leverages business intelligence tools to make data driven decisions and deliver impactful solutions in today's evolving business environment. And to add to that, Eberechi is also a business intelligence developer at Accenture. So let's give it up for Eberechi as she comes on stage.
Yay! Hi, Eberechi.
Hi,
How you
Eberechi,
doing?
welcome.
All right. Then our last speaker, Oloruntobi. Um, Yeah. So Oloruntobi is a full stack developer with an extensive experience in building scalable applications, optimizing serverless architectures, and implementing secure cloud solutions. With a technical writing and software engineering background, Oloruntobi has worked on projects involving React applications, Laravel, and serverless AWS architectures. His expertise spans both front-end and back-end development with hands-on experience in database design, API integrations, cloud development, and performance optimizations. Currently, Oloruntobi works as a software engineer at AI. Hi, Toby. How you doing? I think you're on mute. Can you try again
Okay.
now?
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you now. Yeah, loud and
Hi
clear.
everyone. It's really nice to be here. Excited to be here. And also nice to see familiar faces again, like Salaudeen and Eberechi.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's nice. Alrighty. So I'm guessing we can just begin, right? So let's just start with what exactly was your most exciting moment for you at the event last year? I think we can go with you, Toby. Let's start with you first.
I think for me, like just like the sheer diversity, like getting to meet up with people that you've always looked up to, people that have worked on like a lot of AWS projects, like people that have built like the tools we use like day to day, like at AWS, and also like the opportunity to talk with teams that are working on like the announcements, like problems that you're encountering, just like that face to face discussion. Like it was really nice, like getting to have that, and also like also the swag, like getting swags are always important. Like I went swag hunting, so
I know, right?
that was that was
That's
really
nice.
nice.
That's
And also like the expo, like AWS does like a very good job in bringing like a lot of their partners like to the expo to showcase like their products and also like let you know like their offerings and excitement, and some of them also like show you like a small demo. So it was really like really nice, like seeing all that and just like meeting people. Like I think for me, the most important thing is like networking and meeting people, because you can always like, we are like in the age and the way you could like stream all those announcements, you could view all those announcements, but like those face-to-face interactions with people that like you look up to, people that are building like interesting things, I think is the most exciting thing for me.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. That's nice. Abdurazak, how was your own? What was your most exciting moment?
Okay, I think I have a couple, but the first would be when I actually got to Vegas. At first it was like, no, this is not real, right? And when I eventually landed at the airport and I picked up my badge, I think words cannot express how I felt. At that point, it began to feel like, oh, this is real. So I'm going to attend the event this year. And I think the second exciting moment would be when I attended my first workshop. Being in the same room with so many professionals in the DevOps space, and you see a lot of energy in the same room is something that I've never felt before. So that was really exciting for me. Yeah, and of course the swag. I have to acknowledge what Toby said. The swag, the swag too. I came up with a whole lot of swags. So yeah, thank you very much.
I guess I'll just have to borrow some from you then. Who knows? And you, Eberechi, what was your most exciting moment?
So first of all, it was my first time in Vegas, so being able to, experience that, not only being on the strip, but also immersing myself in the local areas like Fremont Street and seeing how the locals like, enjoy that time and behave in Vegas. Then it has to be the expo. There are so many companies, so many things to do, places to go, people to see, with the different tools, the robots. It was very exciting. Lots of offerings there. Then the fireside chats that we had, especially for the African community and the black community as well. So it was interesting to see people that look like me, in that space and see the things that they are doing as well. I met a lot of people in the AWS team for I think West Africa also as well. So it's very inspiring to see that. And for the swag, I know they've mentioned there was a lot of swag that went around. For me personally, I didn't bring a. They did say bring a bag, a huge bag to take away swag, but I'm not the kind of person that likes to have a lot of load. So I just took a little the things that I thought were more, you know, reasonable to me, and I took that home. But yeah, it was an experience, definitely.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, for me, I actually have an exciting moment, right? I think I fell in love with Las Vegas. All right. So I found the love of my life.
All right, actually
Yeah,
has to be dreaming right now.
I fell. Well, just kidding, right? Just kidding. Right. So thank you for that. So I'm going to just move on to the next question.
All right. So, thank you all for the very beautiful responses that you gave. I think for a moment I was actually trying to envisage all you were saying, envisage seeing the swags, meeting the people that had developed this product. I was just envisaging it and seeing myself in that picture. So, thank
All
you
right.
for sharing those experiences.
Thank
So,
you.
at this point, I'm going to ask Toby a particular question. Toby, what were the biggest announcement at AWS reInvent that stood out for you, and how do you see this announcement impacting businesses this year?
I think there are quite like a few exciting announcements. I think the first one I'll mention would be the announcement of like foundational models from Amazon, which is like Amazon Nova. So it's like a group of foundation models that Amazon came up with to help like build generative like AI capabilities and help their customers. So I think this was one thing they were lacking compared to like Azure, which uses like OpenAI and DCP, which is like Vertex AI. So it was one of the things they came up with, which was really nice. Like and like the models are supposed to like empower businesses to be able to build like a lot of generative AI capabilities easily. I think it's available on Amazon Bedrock, which is quite nice. I think the second thing for me would be like the announcement of like this might not be something that really applies to businesses now, but it's something to look out for the future, which is like the Trinium 3 chips, which is like the new machine learning chips that Amazon came up with. So the claim it's like supposed to be 4 times faster than like the Trinium 2 chips, and it's supposed to be able to help like build a lot of like large language models up with a lot of AI capabilities towards the future. And I think it's supposed to be released, I think, middle of this year. And in conjunction with that, they announced like a project right now in conjunction with Anthropic. And Anthropic is one of the leaders like in generative AI space currently. I think they built Claude AI, and Amazon announced like a project with them in which they are building like a group of supercomputers to help with like training models very efficiently and very fast, and also like increasing like their capabilities to be able to like increase compute for generative AI capabilities. I think that's one thing to watch out for. I think also Aurora DSQL, which is like the new distributed serverless SQL, and that's one thing that is very exciting. I think it's currently in preview mode at the moment, and it allows you to be able to do like a lot of things distributed serverless, which is something that is really like unheard of in the industry, because it also like maintains all the things you want with your SQL, like acidity, like high availability, like strong consistency, and also the claim is like you can allow it to scale unlimitedly, which is really very important for like people that just want to like they don't want to be hands-on on infrastructure. So AWS helps you handle everything about like the infrastructure. You don't need to worry about provisioning or maintenance. It's just like a distributed serverless PSQL that is available for you at any time, and it can scale to as much as you want. And they also help you do a lot of things like underneath the hood, making sure that like you have like database failovers, like you don't have to worry about your database failing, retries, and so many like new things that they came up with. So that was very exciting. I think like in the area of security, one of the things that was really like nice they came up with was RCPs, which is like resource compliance policies. And what they do is like in the past we only had like SCPs, which were you could set policies on like your users basically and set the maximum permissions that they could have. But now you can do that like on resources, and I think they have it on S3 at the moment, STS, which is like the security token service, SQS, simple queue service, and KMS, which is the key management service. And what those allow you to do is you can like set like resource policies on your resources and make sure that they are compliant across your whole organizations. So, for example, things like maybe a user setting a bucket to be public, all those things can be blocked. Like you can set them across your organization in such a way that no user would be able to do that inadvertently. So also like allowing internet access to like VPCs, you can set all those things also. So those are some of like the exciting things that I noticed and like that caught my eye from like the announcements. And in terms of like how they help businesses, I would say, for example, like which I mentioned, which is something in terms of security, you could set all those things to make sure that you're more secure, you're more compliant, and it allows like companies to be able to meet up with like different regulatory compliance agencies, maybe like IPA, like PCI DSS. So those kind of things, it helps with that. And with like the foundation models, it helps companies be able to like build out generative AI solutions like very quickly, very fast, and they don't have to worry about like building their own models from scratch, because AWS gives you like foundational models that are like wide range, and then you can build on top of that, like build on top of the existing capabilities. And I think in the future, like the new projects right now they're talking about the supercomputers, I think that will allow like large enterprises be able to build out solutions more easily, like fraud detection, like drug discovery, and just things like that. So I think in terms of how it will affect businesses, I think those are the areas I can think of at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Toby. That was actually really wholesome. And I'm also hoping that businesses, organizations, people who own companies are right here on the call and they're actually taking note of some of these things, because these things, just like you said, can be an added advantage, or will be or are an added advantage, actually not will be, are an added advantage to companies and organizations. So could please take note of that if you're right here, you're listening and you're watching. And just to add again, you can also get your questions ready. We have about three speakers here and they'll be willing to answer your questions. So if you have questions, please get them ready. All right, so over to you, Ore.
All right, thank you. So this my next question goes to Eberechi. So were there any surprises or trends you didn't expect to see at the event?
Okay, so for me, it was my first time there. I didn't know what to expect going in. We had a wide variety of workshops, talk talks, and keynote speeches. But one thing that I did notice was the emphasis on conversions and integration. So as a data person, integrating data analytics and generative AI, that was a common theme. And the idea was to give businesses that edge and that holistic approach to deriving value from their data assets. So being a BI person, what stood out to me was the Amazon quick site updates. So they introduced an update to that to enable the tool to be able to perform more complex analysis. So QuickSight is a tool for data visualization and data analysis. So apparently, this is supposed to make it 10 times faster than the traditional Excel sheets that we currently use. Then the second one was an Amazon SageMaker Lakehouse, and this is basically a unification tool for data sources. So that's integrating S3 buckets and Amazon Redshift data warehouse, and creating that one single source of data. So that's what stood out to me, and the possibilities of bringing that to my current work and what I do, and how I help my clients. So that's it from me.
All right, thank you, Eberechi. So I'm guessing, and I'm hoping that our data engineers, data analyst guys on the call, just know that okay, that we have services that can help them to analyze, process that data 10 times faster. Thank you. Over to you, Anne.
All right, so the next question will be for Abdul Rasak. Okay, so which new AWS services or updates do you actually think will have the biggest impact on cloud security, AI, ML, enterprise adoption?
Oh, okay. So a few announcements that I think would speak to that. So let's start with the enterprise adoption. So there is the one of the announcements where you can actually use some of your on-prem infrastructure. I'm a DevOps engineer, so I might want to relate most of the things I say to DevOps. So where you can use your on-prem infrastructure as part of the EKS cluster. So more like you have an hybrid node where you have some servers in your on-prem environment, and you just want to use them in the EKS cluster that you have in the cloud. And this could also due to some compliance restrictions, or some other restrictions you have in your country or wherever you are. So that helps to take advantage of the cloud service, which is the AWS EKS, and at the same time still be able to run those workload very close to you. And I think secondly, something that also speaks to security would be the AWS Cloud Security Response. And this is just a service that leverages the AWS Guard Duty to actually help you, you know, do some security checks in your environment, in your architecture. So it do security checks for you and helps you consolidate every security findings into one place. And at the end of the day, you can take real-time actions. You can even automate some actions to respond to some of those security findings. And it leverages on guard duty, which is an AI ML tool, that helps you spot some unusual activities in the cloud in your environment, and also some third-party tools as well, right? Leverages everything to find some irregularities or anomaly, and you can use that to take real-time action, just to better improve your security. Um, I think a few other updates too. There's also the one around GitLab Duo and Amazon Q, where you can actually, AWS Q is now integrated into GitLab. We know GitLab to be a complete DevSecOps platform, right? And now, putting Amazon Q into GitLab Duo is just like you give the developers or anybody that works using GitLab all the power they need and be able to use Amazon Q, which is the AI to just help you be more productive. So, for instance, you could have something like you want to migrate from Java 8 to 11, which is like a multi-step task. It's not something you just do in one shot and then you move on. So it's a multi-step task. And sometimes, if you want to do stuff like that and you just go into your maybe you go into ChatGPT, it might not be so clear enough to do something like that. So imagine you have AI integrated in your platform that's aware of everything and can actually help you with those multi-step tasks to say, okay, if you want to convert this your Java 8 code base into Java 11, this is what you need to do. Then after that, you do this. I know it helps you be more productive, and at the same time, you tend to work faster and get a better response, and a few others. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on. I think I'm just going to stop there. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abdul Rasak. And I think I would definitely agree with what you said because ChatGPT is providing a whole lot of answers to different areas. But now, when it comes to Amazon Q, we are sure that Amazon Q is providing answers as it relates to the different AWS services. So that's really awesome. All right, so over to your.
Yeah. So this question will be for Toby. AWS reInvent introduced several advancements in serverless computing, including improvements to AWS Lambda code stats and better integration with step functions. So, as a software engineer, how do you think these improvements will impact serverless application development, and what architectural decisions should developers rethink in light of these changes?
I think they made some improvements to cold starts, specifically for like Lambda functions that run like .NET, Java, and also Panda. Like I am Python. I mean, I think in the past, like if you are trying to run like pandas on like using Python on Lambda function, like just requiring Python in a Lambda function is to add like an overhead of about 3 seconds, which like when you're building like APIs, that's almost like untenable because you want to like do all your stuff like within milliseconds. So they came up with some optimizations for .NET, for Java, and also for Python. And also they did a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that in the past also like when we move like to a different new version of a language, Lambda used to be very behind. It used to take like almost a year. For example, if you move from if Node 22 or Node 23 is announced today, it might be like a year or more before you could like have access to that on Lambda functions. But now they've done it. They've built a lot of stuff in such a way that like a month after a release of a stable version, you should be able to access it on Lambda. And in terms of architectural decisions, it means that you can start to rethink like a lot of things. But in the past, because like for example, companies like financial institutions that rely a lot on languages like Java.NET and like need a lot of transaction speed, they usually like prefer to use like something like AWS Fargate, which is like ECS over Lambda, just because one of the reasons because of the cold starts overhead that Lambda automatically has. But with the reduction of that overhead, like they can start to rethink all those things because one of the good things about Lambda is like pay as you go. Like it's really like you only pay for what you use, and you can start to rethink migrating services that do not really require when you look at the compute the latency time, like they can start to make those decisions and decide whether they want to move over. Also, like using things like step functions. So, like for example, like an e-commerce company might have like maybe like a large Lambda function, for example, that maybe takes care of their orders. They can start to break those functions down into like small functions that uses also step functions in between, like in order to like order them properly and also like make sure that like those functions are not going too large, they are reusable. In the past, like that would be difficult to do just because of the overhead of each function. But like with the reduction of latency, I think you can start to look at all those cases also. So I think over time, as like the overhead of code starts to reduce, people start to like look at their infrastructure again and 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 see, take a look again at lambdas. Like they excel at a lot of things like background processing, like doing a lot of stuff under the hood. But people have been like in the past like very like people don't really want to use lambdas to build like real-time APIs just because of that overhead. But I think like right now you can start to look into those things like test the latency, see if it's something that is within like the acceptable parameters of the company, and then make architectural decisions from there because you can save a lot of money by using lambdas.
Hmm, 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 hmm. That was intense. Thank you. So I think now companies know that they can definitely use step functions, a mixture of step-by-step Lambda functions to perform different tasks, and they don't have to worry about latency, or they don't have to worry about operational overhead. Thank you for that, Toby.
You're welcome.
All right. I think the next question will be for Eberechi. And judging from the fact that Eberechi has a background in data engineering. So would love to ask her a question around that line. So with the new introduction or with the introduction of new Amazon Redshift capabilities, including vector research, AI driven query optimization, how do you see these enhancements changing the way organizations handle their large scale data analytics, given that you have your background in BI and data architecture?
So, um, first of all, for vector research, that's definitely going to bring an accurate data retrieval process than we had before. And for generative AI query optimization as well, also going to make a difference in large scale data analytics. Is that those two things in itself are going to enhance the way we we view business intelligence and the way we go about reporting as well. So definitely faster, more efficient data retrieval and large scale um, business intelligence efforts there.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much, Eberechi. Thank you.
Right. My next question goes to Abdulrazak. So at the event, right, AWS they introduced streamlining secure automated deployments, right? And as a DevOps engineer, that's something that is pretty much your main focus, right? So how do you envision this enhancement transforming the organization's automate sequencing response and maintain high availability in complex and multi-region environments?
All right. Thank you very much. So, firstly, I would start with so you said security incident response.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, if you look at it from a a complex environment, multi you multi account deployments and all of that. So, um, one key thing that you should note is AWS is big on security, and they will always talk for everything they say. They will always bring security into it. So now, if you look at something like the AWS AWS Lattice, right, which is a service that allows you connect one account to another, VPC to another in the same account or different accounts, and it still runs through the private link without going through the internet. And you would ask me, like, we have VPC pairing that can connect two VPCs together. We have the transit gateway that can connect two VPCs together, either in the same account or multiple accounts. And you would say, okay, what exactly is this new thing bringing in? So you realize that AWS Transit Gateway and AWS VPC pairing, both of those features, they operate at the layer 4, which is the transport layer of the OSI model. And it means that that communication is not application aware. So what do I mean? It means when you look at service to service communication during your deployment, there is no proper, the two services are not really aware of what's going on. The connection is more of a layer 4 connection and not like an application connection. So if you now look at what this is bringing in, it means application can actually be more aware of one another, service discovery, and there's like application awareness in the connection, and you don't have to initiate a whole network complexity in connecting just because you want to make two applications connect together. So if I have a service in one VPC in one account, and I have another service in one VPC in another account, I can actually use my service network that will be created where I have a bunch of services in it that was shared with me from another account, using the resource configuration through, I mean, there are a bunch of things there. I really don't want to go into this. I'm trying to just bring it at the layer. So you share all the resources you have in one account, you share it through the resource manager, by sending resource config to another account, and the other account just has like a service network where all of those resources being shared will be put in like a pool, and the other accounts can access it, and all of these things still runs through the private network. So it means if you have a multi-account complex environment where deployment needs to happen in both environments, you can actually do that while you still run securely in the AWS link without having to expose anything over the internet. And secondly, is going to be if you're deploying event-driven applications where you're using something like AWS Event Bridge that would maybe respond to an event and trigger something else, maybe trigger an API. So before now, if you want to trigger an API, it has to be a public API. Maybe you want to send a message to Slack or any other software as a service public third-party API. But now it means you can actually have an API, private API in your AWS account, in your VPC, and then from one account, if something happens, maybe an event that you want to respond to, you can actually trigger a private API in the other account without having to route through the internet. And this can actually help you, even if you're doing your deployment, you can even add a step function where it could even be like a CI/CD deployment across multiple accounts where you can easily trigger something and even write a complete workflow with your step function, do your um, um, manual input, try to integrate your approvals in between those deployments. You can do some response to failure, error handling, and all of those things with step functions. And you see that everything happening, all this deployment happening across multiple accounts, multiple VPCs, still find its way within the private AWS network without having to go outside. So it means you're still trying to reduce your attack surface, because I will always refer people to three laws, which is the Beckstrom's law of cybersecurity. It says everything connected to the internet um, is vulnerable. Everything is connected to the internet, and which brings to the third law, everything is vulnerable. So it means if you can really limit your deployment securely and try to reduce the attack surface by not exposing so many things that are not even necessary to the internet, right, you can have a more secure deployment. And then because you're routing through a link that is dedicated and even faster, which is not dependent on the internet as well, you can also have faster deployment. So I think that is one thing that will really change the scope of automated deployments, high availability, and even making it secure at the same time.
Hmm, That's beautiful. I think this just brings security to the forefront of everything, right? Having security in every phase of that software development life cycle, right? You're building, you're ensuring that okay, that you're not exposing your applications just to the public. Your applications are talking security to each other. So, thank you for that, Abdul. Thank you. And
Yes, so all right. So, just before I ask the next question, I want to let the audience know that we are receiving their questions. We've just had one question so far. So, if you have more questions, please just drop it in the chat. And just like I said, we have our speakers here, and you can already hear from how they are speaking, how that they have a vast knowledge and experience already. So, if you have these questions, just do out to drop them, and in a very short moment, we are going to ask your questions. All right. So the next question will be for Toby. I think all the speakers, Eberechi, Abdul, and even yourself, you've mentioned a lot of things across different services, and you've talked about how these things can actually improve businesses. So I want to ask, if you had to predict, right? What do you think will be the next big trend for AWS this year?
I would say the next big trend will probably be continue with like the old trends. And I think the two things that stand out to me is AI and security. And I think those are the two things. Like Abdul said, AI is AWS is very big on security, and you see that in like all the announcements. Like, and I think the other thing is AI. Like right now, we live in a world where everyone is competing. Like there's like an AI race going on now, and everybody wants to like be the first to like get to AGI, be the first to like give their customers like the best like AI tools. So I think that is going to continue. Like we saw like with the release of like their foundational models, we see like with the release of like so many things like in Amazon Connect, which is like a contact center on the cloud, I introduced like AI to it, like allowing like users to be able to set up a contact center like very easily, and also like use a lot of AI tools to be able to help their customers. Like I think that's going to continue. Like they're also introducing like AI into so many tools. Like Amazon Q is going to different so many tools also. So I think that's also going to continue, and we won't see them bringing like AI into security. And I think that's also like very important. So with the advent of AI, with so many AI capabilities, I think like security is also one thing that like they have to rethink and also do a good job at. Because when you are giving like people, customers, users the power of AI, it also means that like they can also find a lot of security vulnerabilities faster than like it used to be in the past. So that's why we see like Amazon bringing things like with extended threat detection to guard duty that uses like a lot of AI and ML to just like make sure that their customers are safe. They are bringing things like RCPs, control policies to make sure that you can set your maximum permissions across your organizations. Also, things like VPC block access. You can like across your organization now block access to the internet for all your VPCs and just set it that way so that like nobody is making those mistakes. So I think those two trends I think are going to continue. Like in the next three events, we're going to see a lot of AI tools, AI announcements. Are also going to continue to see a lot of security announcements. And I think probably the third thing would also be like also some serverless improvements. Like this year, they brought Aura DSQL. I mean, last year they brought Aura DSQL. This year, we might see some improvements to that, and also probably more improvements to like Lambda functions and step functions. So I think that would probably be like my prediction about like the overall trends for this year.
Awesome. This is like a, should I call it a cheat sheet already that you're giving to us as well as businesses out there. So for businesses out there, companies, organizations, or if you happen to be an employee, maybe your employer isn't here, so you could take notes and then you could actually take this to your employer and tell them, hey, why don't we try to do some AI integrations into whatever we're building? Why don't we try to take security even more importantly in whatever we are building? And just like Toby has said, AI, security, and serverless integrations as well. So these are things that we could take note of. Thank you so much, Toby, for that wonderful response. Thank you.
All right. My next question goes to Eberechi. So there are a lot of AWS innovations, right? So what advice would you give to organizations who's trying to stay ahead with these innovations?
Okay. I'll say three things. First of all, engage in continuous learning. So participate in any opportunity to engage in AWS training or events like the one that we went for last year, the reInvent, just to stay informed about these latest services and the best practice, as Abdulrazak mentioned, the security, all of that, and experiment with these new services. So we also mentioned earlier that there is so many, there are so many capabilities, so many tools, so many different infrastructures that companies can use to integrate into their own businesses according to how or what works for them or what they need at the time. So that impact on their operations, they just look at the different services available, play around with them, and see how that's going to benefit the business. And the last one is just to stay informed. Keep an eye out for announcements, any updates to these services, or any changes that are coming into play. Visit the websites, turn on your notifications for social media pages that they have, sign up to their newsletters just to stay informed and engaged. So those three things I think would be how businesses can, you know, stay ahead with these new innovations that have been introduced with AI as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Eberechi. So, in summary, right, it's all about trying to learn, right? There are numerous innovations, right? You just have to keep in touch, just keep on learning, learning, and learning. Thanks for that.
All right, so the next question will be for Abdul Rasak. And I especially like that Abdul Rasak had said before that AWS is big on security, which is actually very true. So I would want to further ask again. So, what's AWS doing to improve security posture for enterprises that will be adopting Gen AI?
Okay, so in reInvent this year, there was an announcement on securing generative AI, actually, on AWS, and it's just really about organizations that intend to build security and that intend to build use AI, or just build something around AI, and how they can actually secure their sorry. Okay, so it's just around organizations that are using AI and how they can keep putting security into that, and especially if you're building out at scale, and it gives some like security layers to each of those infrastructure, the infrastructure you build, the model, and also every other thing around your build as well. So just like giving there's a breakdown basically. I think the is also like a blog or an article that speaks more about it. It really looks at how identity and access management can actually help you in securing your generative AI applications, and how you can actually secure your AI infrastructure as well. And some of the things that I mentioned earlier, like how you can actually leverage on um, um, intrusion detection basically, or just threat detection and responses, when you have your AI system basically from your infrastructure and every other layer, just like defense in depth, and trying to make sure there's security at every layer of your application, from the infrastructure up to the application layer. So there's actually a service that was announced. I mean, that actually speaks to that, and I'm sure that that is also even still being improved. And I think there was a session that I was supposed to attend that actually spoke a lot to that, and I actually eventually had to check the review. So basically, I would say that there are so many tools right now that already speaks to AI security, like the one I mentioned. I made a mention of the AWS security hub, and that leverages the AWS guard duty, and also the incident response that basically even use AI to even protect you. So you can even try to do like um, you create like a custom response to some of this threat detection, and even try to create your own model, or try to create your own type of threat, because threat really varies with industries. So just so you don't respond to things that does not really concern you, false positive basically. Like you see a lot of threats that are not even threats in the real sense. So you can actually drill down towards those ones that that's important to your industry or what you do, and use that to respond, some automated response, leverage the system automation or even Lambda to actually help you respond to most of those threats. And like I said, the complete securing AI is something that was announced at the event, which gives you a breakdown of how you can actually provide security to your AI models right from the infrastructure level up to all the way to your application. So I think that is something that AWS is working on, that they announced, and I believe it's also something that would also be improved on. And one thing that I would also add is I actually see this eventually getting to the point where we're going to have something like a security operation as a service, where you have like some of those existing AWS tools that is focused on security being put together to now give you like a service, like a software as a service that provides security out of the box, that you can easily tailor towards whatever need, even generative AI and even outside generative AI. And you get to tell it what you want, because if you hire a security guard, basically, I mean, there's some things you want to tell your guard to look out for in this area. There are guys that would, disguise like maybe a policeman to come and deceive you and gain entry. All of those things are things you can do to ensure that whatever application you are using it for, it is tailored to your need, and you'll be able to really secure your um, generative AI infrastructure and also your applications. And yeah, lastly, there's also something that was, I think I'll just keep that so that I don't talk too much. I mean, there are a lot of things that are in my head. So yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay. All right, please.
yeah, yeah. So I think that also reminds me of how threat modeling is very important, right? Ideally, threat modeling entails just basically looking at the attack surface of your AI model or your AI workload or your general application, right? And just looking at the possibilities of any attacks, right? So what exactly are you building? What can go wrong, right? And how can it go wrong, right? As long as you can answer those questions, then I think you can definitely secure your AI model however you are building it. So thanks for that, Razak. Thank you. So I'm guessing we can just take some questions from our lovely audience. Um,
Sure.
so Jennifer asked the question. She says, are these fascinating services currently available in all regions? She says in the regions. She's probably referring to in all regions. So I don't know who would like to answer that question. Um,
Uh,
Eberechi, do you want to give
Okay.
anyone?
All right. Maybe I should go first, then maybe the rest can also add. So most of the time, those services are not usually available in all regions. But if you try to go through the AWS recap, I mean, right this year, I know that the recap is available publicly for everybody to download, unlike the previous events that's happened over the years, right? So, and in the recap, you will see, or even some blogs or that you see from AWS release about some announcements. At the bottom of those blogs, you see them put the region where that service is available, right? So but most times some of those services might not be available in all the regions. So but if you right now, for example, if you go online and try to check Amazon Aurora DC core that Toby talked about, and I think the first suggestion you should see will be something around AWS blog. And if you go to the bottom of that blog, I think it was written by James Barr or something. And if you go to the bottom of that blog, you'll see the regions where these services are available. So most time they are not. Some of the services will not be available in all region, and sometimes you see services that are available everywhere immediately. Especially if they are just minor updates. Maybe it's an existing service. It's just an update to those service, right? You will see it available in every region. So I don't know if Toby has anything to add to that, or Ibeji.
for me, no. I think you already covered it. That was a great answer.
Likewise.
All right. Yeah, thanks for that, Abdurazak. And I'm pretty sure that answered Jennifer's question. So Jennifer, just know that not all the services are available in all regions, and definitely if you want to find out what regions these services are available in, right, you can always reach out, or you can always go to AWS blog and just go through the service, and you'll see the regions that they are available in. Yep. So and
All right. I think we have a question from Ayodele, and Ayodele is asking, is there any future for DeepSeek integration in AWS? And who would love to take that?
I think
Um, okay, let Toby take it since.
okay. I think it depends on like the political landscape, to be honest. Because I think that's more like a political thing. Because DeepSeek like is an open source model, so there's no reason why AWS cannot like integrate it into like their existing models or the models they offer. But would they do that? Like, do they want to do that? Like, those are like things they have to consider the political landscape. Like, they have to consider like also like regulatory authorities whether they're going to allow them to do that. So there are so many things involved. Like we see with like the ban of TikTok from China, also like the existing ban on like Nvidia chips to China. So those are all those things are things that they have to consider. So like, there's no reason why they cannot do it, but you have to think about like what the like political landscape is, whether they are going to face some backlash, and whether even the regulators are going to allow them to go ahead.
That's right. Eberechi, do you want to add something to that?
Yes, everything what to be said, and as well as security issues that Abdurazak has also mentioned as well. But just recently, I think AWS does offer its own version of DeepSeek, its own model per se, right? But I think you need to have basic knowledge of EC2 instances and cloud formation, and there's a guide on how to deploy that. But yeah, it's not, it's the first of its kind in AWS, and it's still just like a pilot model there. So we'll see how the political landscape changes as we go on. But yeah.
That's right. All right. Thanks for that response, Toby. Okay. All right.
All right. So we have another question from our audience. So Simon says, please, can they all drop their LinkedIn handles so we can connect? Yes. So we will drop that in the chat for everyone to connect. So please stay tuned. Um. So I'm not sure if we have any questions from the guests, but I think we can ask one last question to our speakers, right? To all our speakers, right? So for those who couldn't attend the events, like myself and Anne,
Yeah.
right? For those who couldn't attend to in person, right? So what are the key takeaways people like us should focus on? So and Eberechi, do you want to go
Yeah, I can go
first?
first. So the key takeaways is not
Oh yeah.
the
Okay.
event itself, right? Because obviously there's going to be so much to do, so much to learn. I'll just say um, before the event, there's going to be an app that you can use to register for the workshops or the classes that you want to take or the talks you want to attend. If you want to attend workshops, please register early as soon as they release that list because those seats do fill up quite quickly. Toby can testify to that as well. I wasn't able to attend as many workshops as I wanted to attend. Minus that, you should be aware that Vegas is in Nevada and it is a desert, so it's very dry. So make sure you drink lots of water, stay hydrated, have a lot of moisturizer on you because it does get very dry. I had an allergic reaction while I was there. And yeah, there's a lot of static shock as well when you touch surfaces just because of how dry the air is. So just be prepared. And yeah, that's what I'll say.
And she says, be prepared. Hope you are prepared for us to
Right
go. You'll be sponsoring my
after
trip, John.
this event, I'm packing my bag. Don't worry, we're going.
All right. Toby, do you want to go next?
Yes, I think Eberechi has covered like attending like the event itself. I would say I'll just talk about like what like the key takeaways for businesses I think would be that right now like everyone is trying to like integrate like AI into like some of their products to make sure they are more productive. Like we see with Cursor, we see with Amazon Q, we see with GitHub Copilot, like for developers, and they're also like integrating it into business suites, like helping with analytics, helping with making decisions. And I think it's one thing that like businesses and people need to look out for because that's like a competitive advantage, competitive edge. And if you're not doing the same or trying to look at what your like competitors are doing, what they are doing in terms of how they are applying artificial intelligence to help with helping their solving their customers' problems, I think you might be find yourself like left behind eventually. So I think it's something that businesses need to start looking at, like in terms of like applying AI and also taking security also very seriously now because with the advent of AI, like I think there are also going to be very many security vulnerabilities that show up that AI is able to like just um, pass through and catch. So I think those are two things I think they should look out for. Like try to integrate AI and also like make sure you're focusing also on security at the same time.
Mhm. Thank you for that, Toby. And Razak, do you have
Okay,
any other?
I'll just go next. So since Eberechi has talked about people that didn't attend and maybe they intend attending in the next event, and Toby took it from the perspective of businesses, I'll just talk about people that did not attend and there's no possibility of attending anytime soon. So I would say that almost everything apart from the networking and the swag and just the experience, experiencing Vegas, you can experience that and even more when you're anywhere you are. because most of these things will be recorded. You have them available on YouTube. The recap is publicly available. You can download and see all the top announcements, go through it. You know, the ones that are related to what you do. There are a bunch of services. Sometimes I get exhausted. Sometimes I mix them up, right? So those ones that are related to what you do or that you find interesting, just pick them out. You know, you have a lot of blogs already. Immediately after the event, you see people doing videos hands-on on the new services and how to use them. So I'll just say look out for those videos when they eventually release them, which doesn't take long. And also, you can also download the recap to see the key announcements and the ones that you think you're interested in. You can do more research. You find different blogs, different hands-on videos by community builders, and some other AWS professionals on YouTube that can help you, get even more information about all of those updates. Maybe more than somebody that went to Vegas. Because while I was in Vegas, myself and Toby were chasing swag, trying to also network, and at the same time trying to attend sessions. So yeah, that's going to be my advice for those that didn't attend. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Abdul. Well, I don't have any category, right? Because I didn't attend in person. But in as much as I attended online, right? Just like what Abdulrazak, Eberechi, and Toby have said, have spoken, right? It's all about um if you want to attend, just like what Eberechi, if you want to attend any session, just make sure you apply on time. So yeah, thank you for that.
Alright, thank you to all our very, very, very amazing speakers. Thank you for actually sharing your experiences with us and myself inclusive, right? Just like Ore said, I didn't go, but I look forward to going. So, so thank you for actually sharing, and to the audience, thank you for being here too, for the wonderful questions that you asked, and I'm hoping that we've actually taken key notes from all that the speakers have said, because they've actually said a lot, and we are not just leaving to go back to sleep. We are leaving to actually go back and make those research to see what are these new services. Okay, how can I implement them? How can I learn them? How can I grow? How can I become better positioned? Right. So I think we are gradually coming to the end of this session, and yes, I can't see any more questions from the audience. So I think we'll just bring the session to a close here. And that to further appreciate the AWS West Africa Cloud Security West Africa User Group leaders for this opportunity to host this session. And thank you to the entire user group as well. Thank you so much. And to our very amazing speakers, Eberechi, Toby, and Abdul Rasak. We are so glad that you were here with us and you shared your experiences with us. And to my wonderful Ore Olua, my fellow my co-moderator, thank you so much for doing this with me. And
Thank you as well.
thank you. So I think we bring it to a close here. Thank you so much,
Right.
everyone. We'll see you again.
See